Hi guys, welcome to today's studio session, and this time I'll show you how I draw these lovely and juicy watermelon halves. In this video you'll see my full coloring process with all of my approaches and techniques, plus every single color I am using for creating this illustration. I am using Copic Sketch alcohol markers on Bristol paper by Canson. For the textures and soft highlights, I'm gonna be using white colored pencil by Carandache Luminance. As usually, I'll leave all the names of the brands in the description box. The reference photo is from Unsplash, and I'll leave the link in the description box as well. If you would like to sketch this illustration with me from start to finish, then real-time tutorial is available on my Patreon page. The link will be in the description box. It is midsummer now, and it's a season of watermelons. And I thought this is a lovely idea to sketch something like this. The first thing I like about this reference picture is the composition. We can see here two watermelon halves lying on a flat surface. The view is from the top. We can see both of the halves, and both of them are visible only partially. They lay down at slightly different angles, which gives the composition more variation and interest. The light is coming from the right, that's why the right half catches more light and appears a little bit lighter. The left half reflects a little bit less light, that's why we can see that rich red flash. I also can see a lot of fibers and different textures in this watermelon flash. This was actually one of the reasons that I wanted to draw this subject, because I wanted to practice sketching this watermelon flash. Now you can see how I start building some textures on top of the base layers that I've already laid down. As well as the inside of watermelon has a lot of texture to it, super smooth gradients is not a best option for this type of illustration. That's why you can see how I apply my base layers, not worrying about super smooth transitions, and I am using both brush nib and a chisel nib. Because at this point I am interested in laying down the color, and those noisy strokes are even better for creating those realistic textures. So now I am building my details on top of that uneven base layer. At this point I am working on the areas of the seeds, and I thought that I want to make this illustration a little bit more interesting. Here on this reference picture I can see only a few very light and white seeds, and I thought that this would be a lovely idea to add a couple of dark brown seeds as well. This will give a little bit of a variation and realism to the sketch. I keep working on the textures, adding some darker areas, smoothing them with mid-tone and lighter colors, and adding more textures. This part is much lighter, that's why I try not to make it super dark and adding dark red colors sparingly. While I start working on the textures of the second half, I would like to talk to you about the color palette of this illustration. We can see here one dominant color, and it's red, obviously. Now, the qualities of this red. This is a warm red, closer to the orange and yellow side, which gives that rich and appetizing watermelon color. It is possible to use cool reds for the watermelon illustrations, but this will give a little bit different vibe to it. Cool reds are the perfect variant where you want to show that ripe and sugary flesh of the watermelon. In this case, this is more like watery and sunny and juicy variant of the watermelon. That's why warm reds closer to the yellow side are better option. And the value range of the red in this illustration is quite wide. I need to use reds from very light variant to quite dark and deep red. And red is not the only one color here. We have another one, and it's green. Green is located on the opposite side to the red on the color wheel, which means they are complementary. Complementary colors can enhance vibrancy of each other when used in the one art piece and put next to each other. And also they can neutralize one another when mixed together. The best way to give that color contrast with complementary colors is to use one of the colors in significant amount and the second one just a teeny bit. And this is the exact case what we have here. We have the main color that is red and the secondary supporting color is green. And this green enhances the red and gives that appetizing look to the flesh. We'll talk about the qualities of the green in this specific illustration a little bit later, and now I want to talk about the textures that I'm working on right now. This watermelon half took me much more layers to create the textures than the first one. At first, I needed to add the base textures that are going from the rind to the center of the watermelon. In order not to get those super harsh lines, I had to blend those textures several times and build up volume, adding deeper areas and blending them again. While I was building those textures, I had to look closely at my reference picture. I needed to clearly see where the dark and light areas are. Kept building volume and softening the transition while I was satisfied with the result. This is quite a lot of work, but not as difficult as it seems. As you could see, I've already added those brown seeds. I tried not to go overboard and just add them as a little accents. And at this point, I am making my final layer for the textures. I am grabbing my white colored pencil and adding those fibers, textures and soft gloss to the flesh. I am making long and squiggly lines, dots and irregular motions to show that uneven and glossy texture. Now let's continue talking about the green in this color palette. As I've already said, the red and green are complementary colors and they enhance each other's vibrancy. But what exactly green should I use here? And the answer is simple. The green here is warm as well as red. It leans more to the yellow colors rather than blue, which makes this green warm. And this is actually a lovely color combination for the appetizing food illustration. And the fact that the red is the main color and the green is like an accent makes it perfect combination for the color contrast. And as for the values for the green, I mostly use here light and mid-tones, no super dark shades. It is also great because the green is not standing out too much and lets the red capture all the attention. And here's the thing, we have one more color here, and I'm not talking about the cast shadow yet. And this is the white area of the rind. This color lays right between the red flesh and green rind, and preventing those two vibrant colors from clashing. And if we look closely at the reference picture, we can see that this white is not blank white. It is actually super light yellowish green. I don't have that super light green in my alcohol markers, although I do have very light green, but it's not light enough for this purpose. I could mix that super light wash with the watercolor, but unfortunately with alcohol markers I cannot do that. And this is totally fine because I have another solution. I can totally color this area as white as I usually do in my food illustration, and my go-to method for coloring white in food illustration, for it to look more appetizing, I use warm grays, and for this purpose I need very light shades of warm gray. And this is exactly what I did here. I used super light warm grays on the white areas to give this area a little bit more of dimension, and used that very light green on the green area of the rind, and they have soft transition and it looks like a real watermelon rind. Now that I'm adding that warm green, you can see how lovely they combine together with the red. This is a perfect touch of color for this specific illustration, and I love this color combination so much. And the last block of color I'm gonna be using here is for the cast shadow. The light is coming from the right side, which means the right half casts shadow, and we see that shadow between both halves. The background is white or very light, and it suits perfectly for our illustration. In this case, for the cast shadow, I prefer using neutral grays. And as usually, I like building volume from light to dark. The darkest areas in the shade will be near the objects. The illustration is almost finished, and let's sum up the results. First off, I really like the composition of this illustration and the location of those two halves. Next, I really like how the flash turned out with those rich warm red colors, fibers and textures. Plus that accent with dark brown seeds adds a little bit more interest to the whole illustration. The combination of warm red and warm green gives an amazing appetizing look to the whole illustration. And I think this sketch turned out super summery and appetizing. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. And don't forget to check out the real-time tutorial on my Patreon page. The link is in the description box. I'll see you in the next videos and bye for now!